All right, we are live. We are live.
Yes.
Fair and balanced. We're rocking it multiple days after the
Yeah.
game, but we
Right.
have a we have a schedule, and no one's gonna come hang out with us on a Friday night. Uh,
Friday night's rough. Yeah.
Friday night after a Thursday game. So keeping our normal schedule here, but we get extra time to cool off from this scintillating Chicago Bears victory. So, did you do anything fun over the weekend? Did you touch some grass, as the kids say?
I didn't do too much. Just played some board games, played some card games with the fam, and yeah, I watched some football yesterday. I still got fantasy teams, so I kind of still invested in the NFL Sunday even without the Bears. But yeah, I didn't really do too much. I wasn't too caught up in it. It was relaxing. It wasn't the stress of a Bears game was not there, so it was nice.
Did you get up in the morning to watch that terrible Patriots Colts game?
No, I did not. I when did get up and I remembered it was on, I turned it on. I'm like, why am I even bothering with this? Because that was just brutal. The Patriots, man, they're Belichick's gone, right? This is his last year in New England. I can't see him sticking on there.
I mean, it would be the smart thing, I think, to probably move on, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it just seems like everything just kind of crumbled around him, and I see a lot of the people talking. Well, I see it was all Brady, and it's like, uh,
Not
there
fair.
there are so many games that Belichick won with his defense and with picking something up, and he helped Brady. Let's not forget that played both sides. Like he helped the offense and the defense, but like early on, those were really good defenses that had Brady managing those games, and then Brady kind of came into his own. And I would say the later ones were more offensive driven, but even still, like that Super Bowl against the Rams, that was a very low scoring game, and he basically took the Fangio playbook and employed it, even though he doesn't
Yeah.
play. That's not his like base style, but he changed his whole defense to play that against the Rams. I mean, it's the number of games Belichick has won because he's a genius is incredibly high. So, I mean, yes, he maybe isn't a great general manager, and maybe it's finally fallen down around him. But yeah, sometimes you just have to replace a legend, right? I mean, that's the you know Tom Landry got fired, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
these things happen. So
Yeah. I think if he moves on, I think he may just call it a career. I can't see him, picking up somewhere else, starting over. Just had a great run, and it's over.
72 years old, right?
Right?
It's
Yeah, he's up there. I think it's time to move on, which would be fine. And Matt Patricia will be the new Patriots.
no way. Way. I think Kraft would be smart enough to go out and try to just pluck the next guy, right? Like I think he's been a pretty good owner,
It
you
would
know,
be the Bears' luck
for
if
football
if
reasons, not other reasons.
yeah,
But
if Belichick moves on, and then the Patriots get a guy like Ben Johnson, or one of these young hotshot OCs that the Bears should be going after. Of course, they end up going to a good stable organization like the Patriots would. Just be typical Bears.
yeah, let's not lose that. The Bears had an opportunity. They were I don't think actually ever officially interviewed Belichick, but they definitely had him come in during the cycle or we're going to meet with him or something. There's some story back then. Oh, I should mention I didn't get a chance to look it up on the book, but I did confirm last week that I said the wrong person when I talked about the Bears and the syphilis story.
A
I tweeted this
syphilis.
out.
Okay, okay.
Um, and so I wanted to follow up. So if you didn't catch that last week, we talked a little bit about the history of the Bears with syphilis, which was not necessarily something that we thought we were going to talk about. And I said that there was a guy named Chick Jagade, which I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's Jagade. And he was a real person that played for the Bears, but it was more in like the 40s and 50s. The guy that I was thinking about was Chick Harley, and that was all the
Okay.
way back in the early 20s. And a third ownership stake for him to come and bring his Ohio State buddies, and then that retracted because of the health issues. But like on Wikipedia, it does not mention syphilis. It mentions like things that he acquired during the war, so it's very vague. So I'd have to go find the book reference. I'm pretty sure I know where it is, but it's the wrong Chick. Which how many Chick? Did you know that there was even one guy named Chick that played for the Bears, let alone two.
I think that was a popular name back in the day. Chick might have been a thing. So
Anyway, so
that's okay.
following up, sorry to the Gigotti family for in saying mixing him up with a different guy. So, but I'll get the full story at some point.
You
Anyway,
got it.
you ready for a podcast?
Let's do it.
Okay. Welcome to Bear and Balance. I'm Jeff Burkus, a writer for Windy City Gridiron, and I'm joined by the editor of that fine website, Lester A. Wiltfong Jr. Lester, the Bears did what they had to do. They defeated the Carolina Panthers, keeping them at 1 win and the hopes of the number 1 pick alive. How did you enjoy your Bears-free weekend after they secured a victory on Thursday night?
It was a nice, it's always nice when the Bears play on Thursday. I don't like Thursday night games. But then after it's over and after the dust is settled, it's like, okay, now I can enjoy a Sunday, just relax. I didn't have to do too much writing, obviously. I don't have to do any prep work. It's just pretty much just relax, watch the games, and then just enjoy the fam a little bit.
Yeah, kind of behind the scenes a little bit. When you have the condensed week, you have to still do the same requisite number of articles, but you
Yeah,
have less time to do it. And so everything's
yeah,
kind of jammed in together. And then all of a sudden you do have a couple extra days. And it's almost like you're so used to going so fast. You're like, what do I do? What is it that
yeah.
I'm supposed to do if I don't have to like go write something? So that is nice. It's a little break for us too. I enjoyed a nice 3-day weekend. We had Friday off. Stayed up late talking to Bill, so I probably would have needed to take Friday off anyway, but I had
Right.
that off as a state holiday, and so that was a nice way to spend a weekend. I didn't actually watch much football at all. I decided to try to touch some grass, as they say, and go out and enjoy the day. Beautiful weather, and so that was nice. But about the Bears, let's get back to
About the
this
Bears, yeah.
scintillating 16-13 victory. And every week we start in the trenches with our trench tribute. Who you got this week, man?
I got two written down, just out of habit here, but I liked what I saw from Braxton Jones. This was his first full game back. I know the first time back he kind of did some splits in time with Larry Borum. Braxton Jones, though, he kind of showed a little bit what we had hoped to see from him. The nice thing here, he had no penalties this game, which is he's kind of been dinged up by the penalties early on in this season. No penalties. I thought he played good. He's just a very athletic left tackle. He's got some warts in his game. Obviously, he's not the high draft pick, but I think he's quality. I was excited to watch him and watch the development coming into this season. Like I said, the penalties hurt him early, but now if he can kind of settle in, he's got a few games here. I know there was a lot of talk about the Bears. There's like 2 left tackle prospects that are up there in the draft that the Bears could have a chance at. And I think that if Jones shows he's the guy, that's Bears can go a different direction.
Yeah, it'd be really nice if they didn't have to go off and get
Yeah.
a left tackle with one of those premium picks that they're slated to select with in the first round. Maybe use that on another wide receiver. There's a lot of excitement in this wide receiver class. It'd be nice if the Bears can bring in somebody like that. And you're allowed to do that if you think you've got the tackle position figured out. And I think the penalty issue when we're talking about that, the pre-snap penalty stuff, like the false starts, your tackles are going to get false starts from time to time, particularly on the road. That's just is what it is. It's a product of a loud stadium and all that. Too many, right? Like there've been too many from him, but overall, like there's a little bit of that you have to accept. That the holding, I think, is probably more so the penalties that need to be cut down, and I think he can get there. That's just a technique thing that over time, knowing when to release, and particularly if you're blocking for a guy scrambling like Justin Fields, that can be part of it too. You have to know when to let go. But yes, he's got another half season to showcase what he can do, and if he can show that he could be a solid left tackle that really on a very reasonable 5th round rookie contract, right? That really is surplus value for the Bears, and you need players like that to provide that surplus value so that you can go out and spend money on quality veterans to come in and fill some of those other roles that you have to pay full price for, including my trench tribute of the week, who the Bears paid full freight plus maybe a little bit of a tip to acquire, which is Montez Sweat.
That's
I
my
think
other guy. Perfect.
I think we're seeing the Montez Sweat effect. And now,
Yeah.
again, I know where this is against a very bad Panthers offense, but Montez Sweat did not record a sack in this game, but he had, I think, 8 pressures, something like
Yep.
that. So you're seeing him play a higher snap percentage, which we knew he was going to get to eventually, and he's having the impact on the game that you want a guy like that to have. And again, this is not adding TJ Watt. This is not adding a top 3 edge defender, but this is adding a premium player at a premium position. This is a very good player, and I think you can already see the dividends paying off because everybody else is just going to benefit, right? Like Rasheem Green got a sack, and it's one of those. I mean, this would probably be the only way that I would ever get a sack, right? Is like Rasheem Green rushes off the edge, he's beat, but he realizes that the quarterback's going to flush, and he just kind of hugs him down to the ground as he enters his territory. So nothing that Rasheem Green did there to he didn't beat his man one on one. He didn't have like a great move. He's just the beneficiary of the pressure flushing Stroud out and being smart and making the play when he had the opportunity. But everybody benefits, and again, I don't want to go too far back, but if you go back to the 80s lines, the amount of pressures that were happening, and then just who was cleaning up sacks, didn't always Dent, may have led the team in sacks, but there's pressure coming from everywhere, right?
Yep.
And then it just is a matter of somewhat luck of who's going to clean up the sack when the quarterback's dancing around or when they're frozen in the headlights. And so that's why we talk about pressure so much. That's why we talk about these stats, because everything trickles down off of that. So if your scheme doesn't care about pressure, which all of these people on Twitter are telling me that Eberflus's scheme doesn't need pressure. I mean, I don't think that that's modern defense, right? Like, this guy is the type of player that you need to make everybody else better. So you need more players like Montez Sweat. He's showing his impact. He gets my trench tribute.
Yeah, it's a good pick. He was another guy I had written down. You said no sacks. He also had no tackles. But his impact on this game was felt. You said he had the 8 pressures according to the next gen stats. The official stat count had him with 3 quarterback hits. You see him on the field, where he is at all times, and that's exactly what the offense have to do too. Justin Jones got a sack also, so did Ngakoue got a sack, and they talk about him as a multiplier. I mean, this is kind of what he can bring to a defense. He is going to be a guy that will consistently get after the quarterback, and the Bears thought they had that in Ngakoue, but I think Sweat's the real deal.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the world of Twitter that I'm still calling it Twitter. I'm not gonna acknowledge the other name. I'm gonna start off because I think mine is going to lead into yours. And so our friend Jacob Infante, he's at Jacob Infante 24. And this is a clean tweet. Don't worry, guys. You don't have to hide the children for this one. But the Bears offensive line is improving and mostly healthy. DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, and Deontay Foreman are all playing well. Khalil Herbert comes back soon. This will be the best supporting cast that Justin Fields has had in the NFL. It's time for him to step up and prove he's the guy. It's now. So a lot of conversation about what does Justin Fields have to do? What does Justin Fields have to do to prevent the Bears from using one of those top 2 picks on one of those top 2 a top 2 pick on one of those top 2 quarterbacks? And I think that we've talked about this over the last few weeks, and it's hard to see a scenario that would allow Justin Fields to remain the quarterback of the Chicago Bears in 2024 and beyond if the Bears finish with one of the top 2 picks, and that includes the Carolina pick, just because there's so much positive energy around those 2 quarterback prospects. They would almost certainly come in as better prospects than Justin Fields was when he came out. There's plenty of work to do and games to be played and all that, but that's the way it's looking. But I think that, Jacob's got a pretty good point here, is that this is probably the best that he will ever have in a Chicago Bears uniform. This is the time for him to prove that he is a starting quarterback in the NFL, whether or not it's going to be for the Bears or not. Here's his opportunity, and it all just needs to click for him. That's really what we're talking about here, is that he can't really have any of those bad halves, bad games anymore. It all just has to play well here. And there's some tough opponents coming up. He's got to play that Minnesota blitzing defense, Brian Flores again. He's got the Lions twice. He's got the Browns. That's the next 4 games. That's a tough road for Justin Fields, but this is the best that this unit has looked for him to take those 4 opponents on?
Yeah, he has a chance here to kind of show who he is, which it's kind of sad. I mean, so far into his career, you would hope by now we would know, but we don't know still. We don't know who Justin Fields is. He's had flashes. He had those 2 back-to-back games where he put up, a ton of yards, ton of touchdowns. I think he still is, I think, like 7th in the league in touchdown passes, and he missed, 4 games? So, he had some nice moments early on in the season. But like you said, this is his chance. I mean, I think he's playing for another job somewhere else. I don't see any way the Bears keep him. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he comes out and just lights it up. I hope he comes out and proves and shows what he has, shows what his upside is. Puts up a ton of yards, ton of touchdowns, ton of rushing yards. I just don't see it happening. I just the way things with the offense is with Luke Getsy, I don't trust the scheme. I don't trust him as a play caller, and I don't trust Justin Fields to do the right thing at the right time because we haven't seen it consistently from him in the past. I want to be wrong because, like you, I like Justin Fields, but I just don't see it happen. I think they are going to move on at the end of the season, and it's unfortunate.
All right, what about you? What do you have this week?
So for me, it's about Cole Kmet here. I had a tweet I tweeted out a few days ago. I said there are so many Bears fans hyper focused on sharing their thoughts on what Cole Kmet can't do, and that was based on a tweet from one of the analytic guys at Tej FB Analytics. He kind of shared the EPA at the time. Cole Kmet was 5th in tight end EPA, which is the efficiency. I'm not sure what he is now because of what's obviously the Sunday games are played, but a reply to that was Kurt at Kurt T Alert. Cole Kmet is on pace for 78 catches, 710 yards, 9 touchdowns, all career highs, having a great year. The knock on him before was he couldn't find the end zone. Clearly, they figured that out. Extending him was a big win. Fans are pissed. Some fans are pissed at the extension, but that's just the price of what you have to do. When the guy is up for extension, if he's at a certain level, you got to pay him. Could they have got a discount? Maybe they did get a discount. When it's all said and done, I think his contract will kind of look favorable, in a couple of years here, and some other guys get paid. But he's fine. So many Bears fans are just mad at Cole Kmet. I think part of it is he's a local kid. There's like this anti-local kid bias. Oh, they're just because some fans like him because he's local. So now I got to be the anti guy. Oh, screw him because he's from the area. Same with Notre Dame. Some fans like him because he's from Notre Dame. So the other fans, okay, I'm mad because he's from Notre Dame. Then of course there's the Antoine Winfield stuff. We both wanted the safety. We got stuck with Cole Kmet. It's in the past. It's over. Cole Kmet is who he is. He is on pace for an outstanding season. Is he targeted too much? Probably. Are there some holes in his game? Of course. Is he a great athlete? No. He's fine though. He's a above average NFL tight end. He's 24 years old. He's an okay football player. This team needs him right now, and he's giving this team what they need.
So first of all, I just want to say if Kurt is out there, we need to know if it's Kurt T Alert or if it's Kurt Tallert. We need to know if like Tallert's your last name. I just need to know.
I don't know what's going on.
But because I like the Kurt T Alert. This could be your alternate name. I'm putting that out there. Your superhero name or something. Put you on high alert here. And then I think that it's very funny. We have some compatriots that we speak to regularly, and you and I, when we went to camp a couple years ago, and Cole Kmet was being featured. It was very clear that they wanted to make him a feature part of the offense, and we talked about it. We talked about it openly and regularly, and people were kind of upset with it. Like, Cole Kmet can't do that. They're not going to do that. We'll see. I mean, he's going to get the targets, right? And I think you remove Jimmy Graham from the offense. Remember when that was a thing? And so those red zone targets are now opening up, right? And he's getting more of those, and he's converting them. And you want to say that you're not going to give him style points, fine. I don't care about style points. Does he put it in the end zone or not? Right? Like, he doesn't have to look great. He doesn't have to have the most separation in the league. He's converting his opportunities, and that's really what it comes down to. And like you said, expected points added per target, it really takes away some of that bias, right? And so he might be getting too many targets. If you have a legitimate, high level number 2, those targets will go down. So again, if the Bears end up using one of those high draft picks on one of these superstar wide receivers that are sitting potentially in the draft, you might see his target share go down a little bit. But that's fine. Then he becomes like a more interesting third option in the offense rather than maybe a second option that isn't, all that dynamic. But even so, he's done pretty well when he gets the ball. Like he's had some yards after catch. Like again, you don't need to win on style points. This isn't Olympic gymnastics with the judges holding up scores at the end. What matters is, does he get the ball in the end zone? Does he convert first downs? Does he catch does he have a high catch percentage? And he's doing all those things. So, lay off Cole Kmet. He's fine. And the
Yeah.
contract's fine. Our friend Brad Spielberger's like, yeah, he's already paying it off. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
And so unless you hear some experts, that actually deal with contracts all the time say, yeah, this was just such an overpay with the Bears and this was a bad contract. I mean, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Well, there's the JT O'Sullivan running gag where he's an eligible offensive tackle, and that's just his thing. Because he is not a class like these days. You think of tight ends, you think of the athletic, the move tight ends, the Kelsey, the Kittle, the Waller. That's what you think of when you think of tight ends. He's a kind of a throwback, and in this offense, that works. If he's not running down the seam, for these deep passes. He's the guy sneaking out in the flat. He's the guy curling up in the zone. Our guy Robert Schmidt's talked about it before. If he can be one of these careers where you just go and find a soft spot in the zone, turn around, make yourself available, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that in this day and age. And I think that's right now, I'm not sure how the Pro Bowl works. I don't really pay attention to it that much, but he's like third in the NFC in like catches and yards, touchdowns. He's in the Pro Bowl convo in the NFC at tight end, which is weird. I never thought he'd kind of be that, but at the end of the year, these numbers are going to be what they are, and he may make it. I'm not sure. Is it flag football? What is it? A skills competition? I'm not even sure what the Pro Bowl is anymore.
And definitely they did some sort of skills competition. So I'm
Okay.
sure it'll be something like that, which I like. I don't need the
Yeah,
game.
the game sucks. Yeah.
I grew up in an era with the QB challenge, and
Oh, okay.
I would watch old episodes of Quarterback Challenge now.
Okay.
Like that was an incredible event. Like the distance throw, the read and recognition, the
Miles per hour.
precision passing. You know what? They don't have miles per hour.
Okay.
You can pitch that as an ad, and then you can see how Tyson Bagent does.
Oh,
But
don't go there.
all all right, let's move off velocity and let's talk about stats. Caught up in a numbers game. I'll go first. My number this week is 39.3%. And that is the chance that ESPN gives the
Nice.
Panthers pick to be number one overall. That is that's a pretty high number. And that's pretty impressive. The Cardinals win really changed the dynamics at the top. There was kind of a three-way virtual tie at the top between the Giants pick, the Panthers pick, which is the Bears, obviously, and the Cardinals pick. The Cardinals win. They fall all the way down to like 12%, and the Giants and the Panthers pick jumped up to like the 39% area. So if you take that one step further, and it's not quite adding them together, but if you want to say, well, what's the chance that the Panthers pick is going to be a top 2 pick, which would be again in that quarterback range? I think you're north of 75% chance
Yeah.
at this point. It's pretty high, and so that was a really big win for Arizona. If you're a Bears fan, Arizona's going to be better. Like they've shown signs of life, and Kyler Murray came back here, and so it's starting to look a little bit more real. And again, you got 8 games left, a lot can change, but it's starting to look a little bit more real that this Panthers pick really could pay off in the top 2 territory.
So I saw your tweet this weekend talking about teams that Bears fans should root for, and then
Yeah.
someone kind of came at you like,
Oh yeah.
is this what
Yeah.
I'm like, what? This is what you're doing now is rooting for loss. You're not rooting for Bears loss, you're rooting for losses of the Panthers and draft positioning because the Panthers stink. Bryce Young he looked bad. I mean, if you looked at this last game with Bagent and Young and you didn't know who they were going into it, you would assume that Bagent was the draft pick and Young was the undrafted free agent because they just looked bad. They both were bad out there. The Cardinals are much better now with Kyler Murray back, with James Conner back at running back. They're not going to be a horrible team. The Giants stink. The Giants are pretty bad. But I think at some point they're going to pull DeVito and they're going to go with Matt Barkley. And that, he's no world beater at all, but he's much better quarterback than Danny DeVito is. What's his first name? Tommy DeVito?
So
Tommy,
it doesn't
Danny.
matter.
What's the
Doesn't matter.
difference?
He's not going to
Who
be in the league
cares?
very much longer.
And then, of course, the Patriots. Mac Jones is bad this year, but we were talking a little early in the pre-show. I don't think Bill Belichick is going to let them, keep losing. Something will happen. They'll luck in a few wins here. It's going to be the Panthers. They're going to pick number 1 overall, and it's going to be the Bears' choice.
I think it's so fantastic. It's such a wonderful storyline to follow. I mean, particularly after I write a parody article about how I hate the Panthers.
Panther fans came at you. They were man.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I can't wait for the follow-up article to the I hate the Panthers. Where I say I no longer hate the Panthers. That'll be coming at some point. But yeah, they gotta complete the deal. There's they've got another 8 games and hopefully they lose them all. And secure that number 1 pick for the Bears. But what about you? Stats for you?
My number this week is the number 7. The Bears had 7 penalties for 44 yards, and that's also the 7th time this season that the Bears were penalized more than their opponent.
Wow.
Last year, it happened 6 times total. So they've already eclipsed it. I'm not sure the total numbers yet after Sunday's games, but I know they were 1 or 2 in total penalties this year. And this has been a recurring theme we've talked about quite a bit. The discipline from Eberflus's bunch is not where it was a year ago. That Hit's philosophy is kind of taking a turn, and they're much more penalized now than they were a year ago.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
it's probably not great on live. The meme that's going around with the hits, and then like the T is not takeaways, but it just says the ball. Where did that come from? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I haven't seen that one.
I've seen that like all over where maybe someone in the comments will know and we'll share that. But there's a meme going around and like the hits, H for hustle, I for intensity, and T is supposed to be takeaways. And then there's a bunch of people that just says the ball. And I have no idea what the joke is. And I probably shouldn't admit that I should probably ask behind the scenes, but I don't know what the joke is. I don't know where it comes from. So anyway, no one has chimed in quite yet, but yeah, I think that it just comes down to, again, this is part of the criticism of Matt Eberflus and his coaching is this year is just, it's off the rails. Like it's like the coaches that have been dismissed. And again, like we don't know the full stories, but like still like 2 coaches that you're going to lose. And you brought those guys in. I was listening to Diana Rossini, the athletic insider, and was talking about how she had I don't know when this came out a few weeks ago, but I just caught it recently. But she was talking to Todd Bowles after the Bears game, and Bowles was like shocked that the Bears offense was not doing what they were successful at last. They were preparing for them to do what they did last year with Justin Fields, and the way that he talked about this dynamic, very difficult to stop, like all these like very kind things. He's like, I watched the week 1 film and I was like, well, that's just week 1. That was like, it's an aberration. Like they clearly just didn't have things figured, whatever. That happens sometimes in the NFL. We're going to throw that film away. We're going to focus on what they were doing last year because that's clearly what they're going to get to. And then they don't, right? That's happening on Eberflus's watch. Like that all comes back to the head coach. And then obviously the incredibly slow start from the defense, like all this stuff that we're talking about. But even with that poor play, you're supposed to be the hits guy. And so you have to have like what you say you're good at, your culture builder and you're a hits guy. None of that is happening. And that to me, like, you can't do the basic thing that you're supposed to do. That is really open for criticism.
The defense has improved quite a bit here the last few weeks. They're coming around, but overall, like, yeah, it's just not this season been a big disappointment. The Getsy experiment is it's not working. It's just they've taken Justin Fields from the quarterback that was top 100 NFL player last year, voted by his peers, and then now this year he's just who knows what he is. But we'll see what happens here. Now he had a chance to. Kind of the offense is what it is now. They had the Bagent experience, which will lead us into our Bagent report. So, do you want to go ahead and get that kicked off here, or do you got one more for the numbers?
I will. I just want to share that in the comments, there these our commenters, which thank you for chiming in, and I appreciate it. They're saying that that Eberflus changed it. That he's not that T is not for takeaways. He changed it to the ball, and it's from one of those videos on the Bears website, which I clearly missed. That 1920 drive or
Yeah, yeah.
fragment, whatever that is. And he's saying that's actually what he changed it to because he wanted it to be both off. But
Offense,
again,
defense, protect the
takeaways
ball.
just means like when you're on offense, don't give the ball away. Like I mean, I think
Yeah.
that would be that. So now it's even more so that I don't like this because you've changed it to something very dumb. The that doesn't make any sense at all. No, I don't like that. That's bad. 2 thumbs down to Matt Eberflus on changing takeaways to the ball. So all right, we'll move on to the Bagent report. Tyson Bagent, 20 of 33, 162 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, a 4.9 yards per attempt. That is a very low number, not particularly impressive. That's good for a 73 quarterback rating, which is not very high when you don't throw an interception. You get full points on the
Yep.
interception quadrant there, but you're not getting much. You're not getting anything from touchdown percentage, and your yards per attempt is very low as well. So again, I think it's not even a pedestrian day. It's kind of below that, but
Yes.
it lacked the giveaways. So I guess there's that. Otherwise, like what were your thoughts on the Bayesian performance from Thursday?
He protected the ball, which is the hits philosophy of the ball there. So that's good
The
for
ball.
Bagent, the ball. So that's good. I mean, when I watched it live, I was disappointed in the game. I was just not a fun game to watch. And then when I did the rewatch, I'm like, okay, the game plan wasn't as bad as I thought it was on the first watch. But Bagent missed a lot of throws. Um, him and Young both were just, they're throwing it in the dirt. They're sailing balls. There was just some stuff Bagent was doing because of who he is. I mean, his arm strength is allowing him to make some of these plays. Some of the stuff just wasn't there. Yeah, he was getting the ball out quick. He was smart with it. I thought his pocket presence is good. I mean, there was a couple plays there where he kind of, he kept plays alive. He had his eyes downfield. There was that one play where the guy swatted at it and he kept it, and he ended up making a play. No sacks this week, which was outstanding. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for sack watch. I might just dial it in and do nothing because I need a day off. But who knows? I don't think he'll play again this week. I think they're going to go back to Fields because of the thumb. I think is better. But Bagent is who he is. This is who we expect him to be. He's fine. He's a QB2 type player at this point in his career, and that's I was fine with this game. He just I don't have high expectations on an undrafted free agent. Some people, some local media guys were like ready. As soon as he had his chance, it was front page on the newspaper.
Agent of change.
Agent of change. Like, what are we doing? Let's let this kid play. And we were both kind of balanced. We're like, nah, let's just wait and see. And he is who we thought he would be.
Yeah, we were talking before we hit live. I was listening to some stuff this week and was listening to JT O'Sullivan, not on his podcast, but he was on a different podcast, or not on his YouTube, but on a different podcast. And the interviewer was asking him questions specific to Tyson Bagent and his arm strength. And he mentioned like, look, this is TJ or JT O'Sullivan saying, look, I was a Division II guy, and that it hurts me to say this, but all of the Division I teams passed on me. And why did they pass on me? Well, it's because of my arm, and I don't have the arm that these other guys have. He's the same way. Like there's a reason why all of these Division I schools passed on him, and it comes back to that arm strength, that arm talent. Now, you can still be successful given everything else, but there are certain throws that are not available to him, and there are certain turn downs that he's going to have in his game because he doesn't trust his arm to be able to get it there. And we've seen when he does try to do that he throws that in harm's way, and it's either taken advantage of, or he gets lucky to have that not be intercepted. And so yes, he can be successful, but there's a reason why scouts and people that talk about this in the draft, they really do want to see that arm talent. And it's because it gives you the ability to make some mistakes, but have them not be giveaways. If he makes a mistake, it's going to be intercepted. Like
Mhm.
that's really kind of what it comes down to. He has to play a perfect game. And a guy like Gardner Minshew can play a perfect game from time to time and look great, right? And so that is sort of the model that I think he could go down. But there's only so many teams that you're going to beat if you're not perfect. They just happen to play probably the one team that they could beat with, without being perfect, right? I mean, maybe they could have beat the Giants with that performance, but it's just it really limits your ceiling. It limits your upside unless everything else is going perfect. Is you have like a dynamite run game and you got a great defense and you just need a guy to just kind of not mess up. That's not really where the Bears are at, right? You can only beat a few teams with that kind of effort. But again, you hope that he continues to improve, and this is probably the it for him this year. You'd hope that Fields can come back and be healthy and play out the strings. So uh, interesting to have this experience and see what he can do. He's put a lot of tape out there, and let's hope for his sake that he's able to continue to pursue that NFL career.
Yeah, I like him. I mean, if whatever happens to Field, I think Bagent's going to be in Chicago for a couple of years. No matter who the OC is next season, I think Bagent's going to be sticking around somehow, some way, because cheap, under contract, UDFA. That's a great asset to have. And, you don't have to go spend a ton of money somewhere else. So I think he'll probably outlast Fields.
I think that they would still opt to bring in a veteran
Yeah,
because they would need a veteran to pair with a rookie.
yeah,
And so I could see that, but I think because of that emergency quarterback situation where you can now keep three, but you can sit one, but then they come in if the top two guys are hurt, right? That new rule this year, I think that actually allows him to maybe stick on the Bears, and it's a very cheap contract that I'm sure he signed, so they're gonna be able to continue to keep him in that role. But I think if they draft a rookie, they're gonna bring in a guy that's been around,
yeah.
knows it. Not that they're gonna play that guy, but they're gonna want him in there for to be in the quarterback room. And so I could see the pecking order being Bagent maybe being the 3 next year if he's brought back. So that's my prediction if they go that direction.
Can you imagine if they trade Fields and Bagent? Bears fans will lose their mind if that happens. But that would be smart. I mean, if you move on from Fields, I bet you can get something for Bagent, a draft pick,
Maybe.
and they may do it. I don't know.
I think they keep him as a 3. That's my prediction.
Yes.
So,
Okay. I like it.
all right, quick break. On the other side of this, we'll do everybody's favorite segment, the 3 Bears. All right, Lester, 3 Bears, hot bowl of porridge, cold bowl of porridge, and just right. Who did you have for your hot bowl of porridge this week?
I'm going to go with Kyler Gordon this week. I thought he had a really nice game. Watching it live, he was all over the place. He popped. He was making a lot of plays. He played the entire game. He played all 60 snaps. The Bears stayed in nickel the whole game. He had 8 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. He had a pass defense. Pro Football Focus had him down for being targeted 9 times, allowing 5 catches, but for just 26 yards. So Kyler Gordon last year was rough. His tape was rough last year. He kind of found some towards the end of the season, but that's kind of where I see Tyreek Stevenson. He's had some rough moments this year as a rookie, but rookie corners stink. We talk about it all the time. They need time to develop. Yeah, some guys come in day one and are just studs. I think Porter Jr. is having a really nice year, but most rookie corners struggle. It's just the name of the game. And here, Kyler Gordon is year 2, and he looks definitely like a keeper.
That's who I had as well. I
Yeah,
think I actually don't think there's another answer. I mean, I really don't think you can even twist a little bit. I mean, I could maybe get another guy, but I have him for just right. So I think I'm just going to stick with it. I'm going to double up on Gordon because, like you said, he was all over the field. You're starting to see, what a healthy Kyler Gordon can do. Never judge a corner in his rookie year. I mean, like
no,
if they're awesome, then like you got a guy like that. That's great. They can pop, Sauce Gardner. Okay, yeah, great. You spent a huge high pick on him, and he's awesome. Totally makes sense. But for the most part, like it's very difficult to have a corner come in, play well early. I think they put a lot on his plate, but you are seeing a guy that the Bears are going to be counting on for years to come because he's super athletic and he's making plays all over the field. Like make a play in the backfield, one play, and then he's making a pass defense down the field, on a go route the next play. Like that's pretty cool. Like that's a guy that's just all over the field. So I'm going to agree with you and double up there. What about on the other side of it? Cold bowl porridge. A couple places to go here, even though it's a Bears victory. This is not a clean game by any stretch of the imagination.
This one hurts a little bit because we have been such a pro special teams podcast here, but I got to go with Chicago's punt team.
Yeah.
They allowed a punt return for a touchdown, but on the year, they have allowed the most return yards in the NFL at 294, which is one reason why Trenton Gill's net average is so low. It's not just Gill when I say the punt team. I mean, he can probably do a little better with some hang time stuff. But just overall, they're not in their lanes. I know, you guys talked about it on the postgame show a little bit because Bill had a chance to talk to Pat Manley, and he wasn't pleased with what some of the stuff he saw out of the punt return or the punt team, prior to this last game. And then, of course, this game they give up a big 74-yard return to former Chicago Bear Smith Marset, which stung even more because what is this guy even doing in the league still? Just here to terrorize the Bears.
I mean, Smith Marset helped with the tank last year, so Bears legend, right? But I think that what is interesting about the Gill thing is that I knew we were going to talk about punting coming into that game. Like Bill and I have gone back and forth in DMs a little bit about Trenton Gill. And so I knew we were going to talk about it. And then there's the punt return touchdown. And then there's the shank. And I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I don't remember the last time he shanked one. And here he is shanking one on the night that I'm doing the post game, and I know we're gonna have to talk about it.
Yeah.
He also had maybe his best punt of the year,
right? Yeah.
Like he had a boomer, and just killed it. And then he had, one of Bill's criticisms of Gill is that he doesn't attack, to the pin. Like, and Gill seems to do a really good job of basically aiming for like the 8 or 9 yard line. That's just what it seems like. He's aiming for like just inside the 10, and he was constantly like forcing the like fair catches around the 10-yard line, right? But he's not getting them inside the 5, which is a different, like there's a big difference if you can pin a guy inside the 5 than inside the 10. You might not think so, but there's also more risk because you're going to risk a touchback if you kick it a little long or it bounces and it doesn't, squib sideways like you're trying to get on that spin. But he had a touchback too. So he had definitely, I think, probably the worst game that he's had in, I think, probably his career, where he's got a return touchdown. That's bad enough. He shank one. That's terrible. Both of those in a game is terrible. And then you had a touchback. Like that's 3 big no-nos. And you only had one like really good punt. So yeah, that's a tough one. And then the coverage unit's not good. Like it just has not been good. They've been cycling guys in and out, right? I mean, like, you've seen Velus Jones in that spot, and he got called for a penalty, last week or the week before, or whatever. And you can't have that. Like you can't be called for a penalty as the gunner like that. I mean, just like you can't. That's just unacceptable. So that needs to be cleaned up. Absolutely, 100%. I had that written down as well. I also wanted to say like having a 1st and 30 as a defense and giving up a first down.
Oh, geez.
That is a cold bowl of porridge. Somebody has to eat that. That's rough. I've never seen that. I'm sure it's happened, but like it's not coming to my memory that, I guess 1st and 30 hardly ever happens. But to give up a first down after that was just really sad, pathetic, and it kind of felt like they just went uber conservative, right? Like they just got out of their game and they let them, they just let them get the chunk yardage, and there was a penalty in there, which again kind of goes to that hits philosophy and all that. But I'm actually going to give it to Brisker.
Okay.
I thought Brisker missed a couple tackles, a little loose in coverage, and Brisker talks a big game. He certainly has had some good moments, but the consistency isn't there. And we talked about it a little bit on the post game. I think Brisker's really up and down. He's a little bit more of a roller coaster. And I think that we were hoping for more of a Adrian Amos like steady presence next to Eddie Jackson. And I think we're getting sort of more of an Eddie Jackson. Like we're getting high, we haven't really necessarily had the high highs, but we're getting that like roller coaster where you see sort of these really bad negative plays and you're seeing some good positive plays mixed in. But more consistency out of him, I think, is important, and I think he had a rough game overall.
I got to tell you that this is the ferret that you hear making noise behind me.
I
So
didn't hear any noise.
okay, I
You did
thought it
not
might
have
be
to admit
popping
that you
through.
had a ferret.
The goddamn ferret just will not shut its mouth. He keeps hopping around. So if you hear that on the video or the pod, that's what's going on here. So yeah, as far as Brisker goes, he had a nice, promising rookie season at safety. And then this year, a lot of injuries. A lot of in and out of the offense, a lot of in and out of the lineup. Maybe that has something to do with his progression this year and year two. But he needs to kind of get things settled down here and get things figured out.
Just right. What do you have for the just right?
I talked on it earlier, and I'm going to go to rookie corner Tyreek Stevenson because he had a game like rookies expect. He had 3 tackles, 1 pass breakup. He got called for a penalty. And in the game, Pro Football Focus had him down for allowing 2 receptions on 6 targets, just 13 yards. He had a nice game, and after seeing him kind of struggle earlier on, this is probably one of his better games. But as a rookie corner, we expect that. We expect the highs and lows. This was a pretty good game from him, but hopefully as he can the year progresses, he'll kind of do what Kyler Gordon did, and more of the good will start showing up here later in the season.
Almost had a pick. Probably should have had a pick.
Should have had a pick. Yep.
Right in his hands. Same thing with Gordon, by the way. We gave him the hot bull, but man, he could have closed that thing out. Had a pick 6 right there. Just needed to kind of like look up and get the ball, but I think just kind of misplayed it, mistimed it. But yeah, that was this close to being a pick 6, and Young's been giving those away lately, so that would have been a fun and nice thing for that defense to be able to have. For me, and I know we talk about kicking game a lot. Not everybody's into the kicking game, but Cairo Santos, man, like, and 3 for 3, including hitting that 49-yarder that then had a Cody Whitehair false start that pushed him back to a 54-yarder, and then he nails the 54-yarder, and they show his face after, like, they cut to him, and he's just like, oh, man, like, come on, like, what? Why did you make me have to kick that again 5 yards deeper? But he nailed it, right? And so he's just been really good this year, and it just even seems like he was good last year, but it seems like he's just been really great this year. Like, I don't know what the other NFC kickers necessarily what their stats are, but like we talked about the Pro Bowl earlier, I don't think it's crazy to think that this guy could be a Pro Bowl kicker given his numbers.
Yeah, we'll have to check into that because I think he only has the 1 miss on the year. That was the one doink he had. So, even that was right there. He could have been made. So, yeah, he's been really good this year. He's been kicking it deep on his kickoffs. Of course, they changed the way where you kick from, but even so, he never had this many touchbacks in his career till this year. So, he's doing a good job. His leg strength has improved. His accuracy is there. He's still currently the most accurate field goal kicker in Bears history. He is passed Robbie Gould a couple years back, and he's kind of held on to that. He's that guy. He's good. He's a good kicker. I'd like to see the Bears re-sign him.
Wow, I did not know he passed Robbie. So Robbie's very accurate kicker. So
he is.
All right. Anything that you want to cover before we turn it over to the YouTube, which is hot tonight? I mean, I think we're over 100 comments already. So I'm sure there's some fun arguments going on in the comments that we'll get to here in a minute. But before we check out for the podcast, anything you want to cover?
This has been nice. I mean, 3 wins here in the last 6, which is, they've equaled last year's, win total. So that's nice. But these next 4 games you talk about, they're going to be tough. I would not be surprised to see the Bears lose their next 4, which is, of course, going to start the whole Fields versus Bagent drama again. Who knows what happened with Matt Eberflus. The Bears are not going to fire someone mid-season. It's just not happening. It's just not what they do. So it's going to be an interesting next 4 weeks here to see what happens. If they can pull out any wins, I would be surprised.
It's going to be tough. 3 of those the next 3 opponents are divisional opponents. You double up with the Lions and you have the Vikings. And I was going through and looking at since the new divisional format and what Bears coaches are. So just the formation of the NFC North, not the NFC Central, right? So you go back to 2002. Dick Duran was 4-8 against divisional opponents. Lovie Smith, again, not overall in Duran's career, but just since the NFC North. Lovie Smith was 32-22 in the regular season. Mark Trestman was 3-9 in his 2 years. Fox was 3-15. Yikes. Nagy was 13-11, so he had a winning record. And Matt Eberflus is 0-8.
That
So
sucks.
yeah, so he would have to go 3-1 in these last 4 divisional games to match Mark Trestman's 2-year mark. So, good times.
If you
We'll
want to talk
see.
about matching bad marks, we talk about Abe Gibron's 274 winning percentage. Eberflus is going to have to go
He has to win
7
4
and
games.
10. Yeah, he
Yep,
has
he has
to
to
win.
win 4 more games. Yep.
Terrible. It's not happening. He's going to
It's
be
not
the
happening.
worst coach in Chicago Bears history through 2 years, and Ryan Poles going to retain him. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I have my doubts. I don't know what's going to happen with this team. The
It's
clown
gonna be
show of
tough.
the McCaskey. It's going to be tough.
It's gonna be tough, but we'll be here with you
Yes.
as this drama continues. So tune in next week at same time, 6 o'clock Central, and we will talk about the Bears and Lions, and hopefully it's a better result than what the odds makers think it will be. Till next
I
time.
doubt it.
Until next time, bear down.
Yeah,
All right, you guys
comments
are either
popping. I think it's a
arguing.
fight. I think it's a fight. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see the comments and run the, but I did see this one before I checked it. How dare you, sir? I was on. What do you mean by that? I did 4 podcasts in 5 nights. I mean, like, I don't see how I'm checked out. What does that even mean?
I think we're just because we're resigned to the fate of our
Oh, I'm
favorite
like
team
not the
here.
eternal optimist that this team's going to make the playoffs. Okay, maybe
At 3-7, the Bears are still in the playoff hunt in
still
the
alive.
NFC. Math is on our side as Bears fans still.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I need to know how I'm checked out. All right. What are you guys talking about? What do we need to do?
Got some Braxton love here.
I I mean,
I like
if I'm the
him.
Bears,
Yeah.
right? And you got the number 1 pick, you're going to take a quarterback. It is what it is. You need to. You need If I'm the Bears, I'm firing this coaching staff. I'm hiring an offensive mind and I'm saying pick your quarterback, right? And then with the other pick, I'm going to take a wide receiver. I'm going to take a wide receiver because I'm going to say
Yeah.
I got DJ Moore. I know I need another like high quality weapon, which all these other guys do. And you've got that pushes Kmet down in the pecking order to the 3rd. It's probably where he should be. You've got your offensive line pretty well. You need to add a center at some point. And then you say, go cook. You got a good running back room, right?
Yep.
Go cook. That's what I would do. Lester doesn't drink.
On occasion.
Well, you're not a drinker.
No,
I
I'm not
mean,
a big
it
drinker.
shows up. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shtick on the other show, I mean, like, it is what it is, but it's not it's a little harder to podcast while drinking because sometimes the alcohol does what it's supposed to do. And then, I can't enunciate quite as clearly and I might lose my track of what I'm doing and I might ramble and I might go off. And like sometimes that's fun, but it's the whole point of this show is to be balanced and it's tough to
Yeah.
be balanced with a cocktail. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
If I was to the point where I was tipsy, there'd be no balance happening. I'd either go one way or the other. I mean, I would either be like super, navy and orange colored glasses, or I'd be like, F this team. I'm ready for a change. Yeah. So that would not be good for me.
Yeah. This is a good point, Chris. But they Bears fans were all in. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think they embraced him early, and I think I mean, I certainly because I was seeing things I wasn't seeing anywhere else. Like I mean, he had to me it looked like he could ace all of the hard stuff, right? Like he could give you those explosive runs, which only a few quarterbacks can do. So that was like an amazing card. And then he had the deep ball, like he could go be big game hunter. And then it looked like he was really pretty good at the intermediate stuff last year. I just really couldn't get in a rhythm on the short stuff and all this. And I just kept thinking, it's fine. Like just build it around what you can do, and the short stuff will eventually happen. That seems like the easy stuff. It'll happen, right? But Man, I I don't know. I think it's just the reality of the time that you can give a quarterback to develop, and you have to start making these decisions. Like, look at what the Giants did, right? Like, they handed Daniel Jones a bunch of money because he had some success with Brian Daboll last year, and they were out of range of taking anybody. And then so they keep him, they pay him a lot of money, and I mean, he is what he is. He's
Yeah,
not very good, right? And so it's a tough it's tough for Fields because he the Bears did him wrong by bringing him in under a lame duck administration or regime, right? Like that was the mistake. Like, to bring him in the situation they did, Nagy didn't play him right. He didn't give him any reps in the any reps with the first team in the camp or preseason, right? It was all about Dalton, and then Dalton gets hurt. He's forced to play him. He's unprepared, right? I mean, it's just like the Bears made the mistake right off the top. Like, they shouldn't have given Pace the directive to go out and draft the rookie if you weren't going to replace the whole coaching staff, because they were going to make business decisions to try to keep their job. And they're always going to try to go with the veteran because they think they can squeeze more wins out of that than they can with a rookie. So
that's a great point. The whole lame duck coaching staff. That's what we saw happen with when Trubisky was drafted. He was drafted to John Fox's last year. It happened with Justin Fields, and it's gonna happen again here, because I think we're both kind of thinking that there's a lot of chatter from a lot of the beat guys that Flus is sticking around, and if that's the case, that's going to be another. You know, I don't know what's going. This whole offseason is going to be a challenge as Bears fans.
yeah, I have a hard time with it. It's just I think it's just this whole era is just defined as poor organizational management, and I really don't care
Yeah,
what another person that writes for a different blog thinks. This is an organizational failure,
yeah.
and it goes to the person at the top. So, yeah, I agree, Donald. I think that you do have to design a specific offense, but there are quarterbacks that have offenses designed for them in their skill sets, right? Like, I mean, we've seen Lamar Jackson flourish with a very specific skill set. I mean, he's not Trevor Lawrence, right? Like, he's a different skill set than a lot of these other guys, and they design an offense for him, and they're very successful, right? Like, so you can do it, but hiring a guy that's never called plays before was probably not the right idea.
Yeah.
Um, they just didn't necessarily give him a chance. I'm not saying that he could have done it, because I don't know that for sure, but he has enough skill in different areas that I would like to have seen a real coach give him a chance, as opposed to try to squeeze him into what they know or what their system looks like. Did you freeze? What else you got?
I'm here. I was listening to your dissertation on the whole. Yeah, there's some
Wait,
there's some.
this guy's from Illinois.
Yes, he played at Syracuse, but he's from. Isn't he a local kid? He's not one of these local guys. What's his name? Danny. What is it? Tommy DeVito?
Tommy
No,
DeVito. It's
now,
Danny
now I got to
DeVito's
look
the
him up.
actor.
Danny DeVito's the actor.
I mean, him playing quarterback would be very funny.
He could do a little worse. It's possible. Let's see. He is a Syracuse guy. Oh, he did play at Illinois his final season. That's where he's from. He played at Syracuse early on. He played at Illinois in 2022. He is from, where's his high school? I'm not even sure. Oh, he's a New Jersey kid.
Well, I thought he was a New Jersey kid because he's
Bounce, yeah.
still living with his parents.
I
That
saw
was the
that.
story that came out. That's tough. That's tough when the story comes out that, like, yeah,
Let's not admit that as a professional athlete. I get it though. It is what it is.
I'm sure.
I mean, stay home as long as possible. But you're making NFL coin. And then he kind of said some stuff that, like, his mom pretty much does everything for him still, which keep that in the holster. You don't really need to put that out there in the media.
saw a lot of Italian mother jokes about that. So
I
I'm
did see
I'm
that.
not Italian. I don't, but there are stereotypes out there about Italian mothers and their sons. So
Yeah.
I found that to be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Donald's got another one here that says the Bears keep Flus. I'm out. Been a fan since he was 8, 2 years before the Super Bowl win, and had tons of mediocrity since because they don't want to hire personalities. Seems like they don't want to hire personalities since Ditka. I mean, I think that's probably pretty fair. I mean, milk toast kind of personalities are how you would describe most of those guys. I mean, they should have hired Arians. That would have been a personality, right? I mean, that would have been the right hire. After that, I mean, take your pick, right? They don't even interview some of the guys that are probably the right guys to bring
Yeah.
in. They didn't interview Mike McDaniel when they had the opportunity. So, yeah, it's tough. Chris, I think Ben Johnson's at the top of everybody's list, and why
Yep.
not? Why not steal a guy from your division opponent too? Like that's kind of the top of the list right there for me. Waldron, I think, is interesting. Need to learn a little bit more about everything about that. And then Slowick, Texans, he's going to be a hot commodity. Not a ton of tape on him, right? Like he's a first year play caller, but sometimes you got to be a year early, right? Like you gotta strike while the iron's hot. Sean McVay, I don't think had a ton of experience when he was. I mean, just these young guys, you don't have a ton of experience. You got to grab them. So, and I mean, I don't know that I have I don't have a preference between Caleb Williams or Drake May at this point. I think a lot of people are starting to form camps. I just want a top 2 pick at this point. Like if that's what it's going to be, but they got to do the whole thing right. It's kind of like my criticism of the Montez Sweat thing, right? Like you paid full price, you all that kind of stuff. Like you paid a premium pick, you paid full price, all that. They had to sign that contract extension, and the fact that it wasn't done early, like that, there was at least room for like being a little nervous about that. Overall, it's fine. Like again, they paid full price, but it's fine. This is one of those situations where if you suck, if you bottom out for 2 years and then you don't get that top 2 pick, or you decide to do something weird with it, or so, like you have to do everything right. Clean house, bring in the offensive mind, get the quarterback, like just start fresh. Forget the last few years. You can't let the past be predictor of the present and the future. So, I don't know. Do you have a preference between these two guys? Have you watched any North Carolina or USC tape?
I am not a big college guy until it gets closer to the draft. So, I'm assuming it's going to be one of those two if the Bears are going to be up there. People are mad at Caleb Williams for weird reasons. The diva thing gets thrown around with him. All top elite quarterbacks that kind of have that in him anyway. So it's, then of course with the Drake May thing, it's he's a Mitch Trubisky clone because of the decal on his helmet. It's like, judge these guys for who they are, judge them by their traits on the field. I think both are going to be pretty good quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm not so high about the generational thing with Caleb Williams. I think he's going to be a fantastic pro, but you got to play the games. I want to see Justin Fields work out. I just think that ship has sailed.
I don't know what this is about, but Iowa, it's not Iowa. I need a little more context there. Is this a punter thing? Let's go get the Iowa punter. Jacob Infante already starting the Iowa punter hype. So we're gonna go all for that. So a lot of ferret. People are into the ferret.
I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not even sure where he is now. I let him loose because he was in the cage making noises. So I let him run loose, and now he's hiding, probably dropping a deuce in the corner somewhere.
Something for you to step in later.
Yeah, it sucks.
Listen, I saw you comment on a previous video. No, if it's a bad coaching staff, you got to get rid of them now. And if the Poles plan was to hire this guy from the start, then it's a mistake. Like it's a mistake. Like he's proven he's not a good coach. But Lester and I were talking before. You've got Matt LaFleur, who I think is a pretty good football coach in Green Bay. You've got Kevin O'Connell, who has proven to be a pretty good football coach in Minnesota, and Dan Campbell, who's definitely got that ship righted and a good football coach in Detroit. and you've got a guy in Eberflus who hasn't done anything well. So do you want to keep the fourth best coach in the division and see what happens? And you want to give him a quarterback and a defensive guy to give a rookie quarterback to? Like, none of that makes, like, you have to rip off the Band-Aid. Like, you just do it. Just flush it out. And changing management, like, you mean like getting rid of polls? Like, okay, like, fine. I'm fine with like keeping polls, but it, and my sole argument there is, if George McCaskey and his stupid consultant said, here's your 3 head coaching options, you get to pick one of these guys, which is what we understand to be what happened, then that's not necessarily fair to him. So you could give him another coaching opportunity, but I'm fine with getting rid of everything and just letting
Yeah.
Kevin Warren run the show, because then everything comes in clean. GM, head coach comes in, they pick their guy, like, and just align everything. You know what? They've never done it that way. Why not see if that, let's try some strange. Let's try to see if this new crazy idea works, and go from there. So that's what I'm at. At some point, you know that this isn't working, and there's not enough evidence to say that this guy's worth keeping. So just flush it out.
I'm with you. They got to make a change. It's we talk about, you got to line them up. If you keep Flus and you get a new quarterback, it's out of sync again. You got to start fresh. You got to start with everything lined up. And I think Poles is safe because Warren let him make the Sweat trade. I just think that kind of shows that they at least see what he has going on there. But like you said, if the 3 choices he had a head coach, whoever it was, it's just pretty brutal.
Eric, this is a question that you should ask EJ. So join us on Bears Over Beers at some point, and we'll get to this. Again, Lester and I don't watch college football, like hardly. I don't watch any, and I just basically listen to guys like EJ and Jacob and our friends that do
Yep.
scouting, and they say it's a stacked draft at the top. So even if you don't get Marvin Harrison Jr., there's going to be some really good guys. So I don't know anybody. I don't know anything. I won't until we get into the draft process and I learn more about these guys. I just know that there's a lot of good guys. So
Yeah.
that's something we'll ask EJ. So that's tough.
Oh,
It's my wife asked the same question. So, all right. Looks like, man, you guys have brought, I'm still scrolling. There's just comments and comments and comments, but
I was kind of expecting our Detroit friend to be in here and to come in for his
Crowlin.
trash.
He'll
Yeah,
be here next week for sure, right?
Yeah, he'll be here next week for sure. I mean, I think at this point he realizes the Lions are pretty good, so he doesn't have to keep a shtick up anymore because they're 7-2. They're the class of the division.
So Eric's a West Coast guy then. So EJ had a meetup at the Seahawks game.
Seahawks
Look like a fun finish. So that's cool that you got to go out and do that. Glad that you got to talk about centers. That's fantastic.
They need a center too.
Yeah, that's great. That's great that you spent your time talking about that. So that's good stuff. So, all right, I think that's good enough. Thanks for getting in the comments, guys. This is great to go through after the show. Shows that you guys are still into talking about this team, which is great, despite the fact that it's still tough. Oh, I did the same thing you did. Tried to unclick. So we'll be back next week. It's going to be a tough game. The Lions are a good football team, but any given Sunday and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens. But enjoy the game. I'll be back on Wednesday with Bears Over Beers with EJ. You'll be back at some point, I'm sure as well. So hang out and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.